Cars come to the grid here at a rather damp Donington Park for the first race of the weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy, a championship that is going down to the wire. It's between Ravi Ramid and Nick White. It could not be closer in terms of race wins, 11 each, and by the end of the weekend we will have a champion, possibly even by the end of this race, but you have to factor in drop scores as well, so it does become just a touch convoluted. The field making its way up to the grid. It's going to be a 20-minute race. They will have the formation lap in a moment, just so they get a bit of warmth into the Michelin rubber on which they all run. All of these cars, the Ginetta G56 GT Academy car, which is aimed at those of either limited or hardly any race experience. V6 engines, 270 brake horsepower, 140 miles an hour as a top speed, 1,100 kilos is what they weigh in at. And the grid is being cleared then, ready to send the cars away on that formation lap with Ravi Ramid, who, despite the fact he's in a, if you like, novice category, did race in the BMW Production Championship a good few years ago with reasonable results, but he's come back into racing in the Academy, and he's the man on pole position with Matt Shaw, I should say, lining up alongside him at the front of the grid. Matt Shaw in the WTR Want to Race entry, and then on the second row, Nick White, who had a good weekend last time out at Brands Hatch, and then it is Luke Shaw, number 21, another of the W2R fleet, lining up alongside. So the one-by-one staggered grid is formed. There is, towards the rear, a familiar surname in Rattel, because Max Rattel, Stefan Rattel's son, who made his racing debut at Brands Hatch, is back for another crack, and the weather gods have not exactly been kind to him by giving him a wet track to qualify in and a damp road on which to race. As we get the cars underway then, riding with Matt Shaw on this formation lap as the cars now go down towards Redgate. Matt in the Raceway Motorsport car. But the man on pole position, Ravi Ramid, in the white and blue and green livery, is probably one of the most experienced drivers on this grid, so he's going to be the man to beat. Mackenzie Walker in the E3 Sport car further back. E3 Sport being the new incarnation of Jim Edwards' team, the three E's being Jim, his father Jim Senior, and Jade Edwards, of course, who's been racing most recently within the British Touring Car Championship. So E3 Sport is the new team name. This is how they're going to line up. Ravi Ramid on the inside on pole position, Matt Shaw with him at the front. Then you've got Nick White and Luke Shaw lining up on the second row. Mark Ellman and John Carney share the third row of the grid, ahead of Ed Akers and then Emma Tomlinson. Next on the grid will be Tom Balfe and Tom Shelley, W2R Century respectively. Amy Tomlinson is alongside Michael Orant, another of the newcomers in the rookie class, ahead of Paul Livesey and Stephen Frassel for Nathan Fleet's Century Motorsport team. Then you've got Robin Grimwood, another of the E3 Sport drivers, and Mackenzie Walker, quite a long way back, one to watch, I suspect, another of the E3 Sport fleet, ahead of Charlotte Lowe and Lucy Tomlinson, whole family out virtually in this race. And then the final couple of cars, those of Max Rattel and Phil McGarty. That's how they're going to line up, and 20 minutes is going to be the race duration then. On the 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit here, you can see that it is still a very damp, treacherous circuit, and just every time you think that the rain has eased, so it starts to drizzle once more. The Ginetta Juniors had a couple of safety car periods early on in the day. We've just had a GB3 single-seater race that's had 2 safety car periods as well, because the track is still very slippery indeed. And just when drivers think that they're at a point where they can push, they discover that they're not, and it all becomes very leery once more. So the car's now heading down to the Melbourne hairpin. From East Midlands Airport, the latest flight takes off in the background as the cars then will turn their way up to the grid, and then we'll be in business very shortly for the start of this first of 3 races of the weekend. So to the grid they come, and the marshals stoically, in pretty grim conditions, stand at the front of the grid ready to receive the cars into place. Ravi Ramid knowing that he's got to convert this pole position into a very, very good start, and then he's got to try and keep Nick White at bay. Coming into the weekend, Nick White on 741 points, Ravi Ramyid on 664. But then you've got the drop scores to factor in. And it's effectively 2 weekends, not just 2 races, but 2 weekends you can drop. And in some cases, they've had a double header, in some a triple header. So it does take quite a bit of unravelling. We'll do our best so to do over the course of 20 minutes. But ideally, we would like this to go down to the wire tomorrow. Right, grid formed. 20 minutes are ahead of us. And now, lights do go red then. So race 1 of the weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy after a long hold is go. Bad start made from the second row of the grid by Luke Shaw, who went, and they got very bogged down. It was not a great start by Matt Shaw ahead of him, and he's dropped back in the pack as well. So it's going to be Ravi Ramyid who leads the way, ahead of Nick White as they drop into Redgate corner for the first time, turning then now onto the top of the Craner curves, and the Ginetta GT Academy field, a little bit busier than we've seen it in recent rounds, then drops downhill for the first time. 25 looking to gain ground there. John Carney, another of the Raceway Motorsport drivers, some rather brave on the outside on the damper part of Hollywood. But Ravi Ramyid is looking to try to make good his escape as they head into the old hairpin for the first time. 1 or 2 tiptoeing out wide as they try to find some traction, find the grip, and then make the climb up towards McLean's for the first time of asking, as Carney tries to make his move there against Tom Shelley in the all-green car. There are the 2 race leaders then, the 2 fighting for the championship. Ramyid just ahead of Nick White as they head into Coppice now. Further back, you can see Ed Akers, number 20 in the orange car. He's again been a front runner this year, so he could be a man to watch in this as well, there to see what progress can be made as the cars now come out of Coppice for the first time. Down then to the S's. And it is Ravi Ramyid ahead just of Nick White in second place. And these 2 making good their escape as they flick through the chicane. Right the curve where possible. Tom Shelley gets a little bit crossed up, even more so further back in the pack there, Tom Balfe. But down to the braking zone for the Melbourne hairpin. Come the top 2, Ed Akers in the orange car to the inside line there, looking to try to go through under braking, but offline to make the pass. It's even more treacherous, but he did get the car slowed down nicely, and he goes through them ahead of number 25 of John Carney. To the end of the lap they come, and it is spin in the background now, which possibly of the Tomlinsons is that has gone around. We'll see who's missing from the lap chart at the end of the lap as there. Carney fights back against Akers. I was about to say Ravi Ramyid leads at the end of lap 1, and he does so by just over a second from Nick White as they go by. Heading into Redgate, another spin coming out of Goddard's, almost to pit in, and that you can see is number 43, another of the newcomers to the championship, Stephen Fressel for Century Motorsport. And I think the other car that we had spinning was number 55 of Michael Oren. So that was at the Melbourne hairpin. What happened to Max Rattel? He was up to 17th at the end of the opening lap. Dad's here to watch him as well. So Max trying to give a good account of himself in not ideal conditions. Through there is 88, that being the car of Mark Ellman, the SVG Motorsport car, but right up behind him is Tom Shelley, and he's going great guns here. Rides the curb on the inside. Of course, Donington, like many a circuit these days, with a much flatter curbing for motorcycle racing purposes, and that does give the drivers a chance to take 1 or 2 more liberties, to straight line corners a bit more, and to use those curves as part of the racing line. Out of Coppice now, down towards the S's, and Ravi Ramyid has disappeared into the distance. Nick White dropping away markedly on this second lap of the race. Through the left, through the right, and then down to the Melbourne hairpin there, Mark Ellman just ahead of Tom Shelley. But Nick White dropping away, and he can ill afford to do that because he ideally wants to be outscoring Ramyid as far as the championship is concerned. 2 more races for these cars tomorrow. Into the braking zone there. Big dive on the inside line, number 47, which is Emma Tomlinson, but she then goes wide, having just got ahead of her sister Amy Tomlinson, and they're almost side by side coming out of the corner. Heading now up towards the left of Goddard's. Heading into the left of Goddard's now, up towards the timing line. So the leader goes through. Ravi Ramyid is now 2 seconds to the good, and he's done the fastest lap of the race as well. So Ramyid clear up front, number 7 there. Further back, under attack look, that is Charlotte Lowe. Mackenzie Walker trying to line up for a move on the inside line. Not quite able to go through, or is he? Let's see, coming on the top of the Craner curves now, towards Hollywood. So there are the two race leaders, but if anything, Nick White may well now be falling into the clutches of Matt Shaw, making amends for a not exactly rocket ship start, but pressing on. In fourth place, Mark Elman ahead of Tom Shelley, and then the orange car of Ed Akers in sixth spot. And there, number 17, Mackenzie Walker, is still stuck behind Charlotte Lowe. So looking for a way through. Walker up now into the right of McLean's, drops it into third gear. Lines the car up, but a bit of understeer washes him out wide, but a good exit from the corner nonetheless. Possibly with a move on the inside. Yes, does commit on the inside into Coppice. Gets the first apex, now the second. And looks as though he's made that pass clear of Charlotte Lowe. Gains the spot then. So that puts Walker up into 13th with still just under 15 minutes of the race to go. Down now into the Melbourne hairpin. They come hard on the brakes, turn right. There you can see quivering under braking slightly. Tom Shelley's car. And he gets it back on the power now as he sprints out the other side. Ed Akers behind, number 20, in sixth place, but not for the moment being able to do much about Shelley, who gets sideways, hangs onto it, but that means that he drops back a little bit from Mark Elman in the process. So Shelley fifth as he comes over the timing line. The leaders have gone by with now 2.2 seconds between them. Nick White, though, is starting perhaps to get a bit more confident because his sector times on that last lap had two absolute bests. The lap time was still slower than Ramyeed, but maybe now Nick White's car is coming to him, as you see number 11 there go out of Redgate. Amy Tomlinson onto the top of the Craner curves. The Tomlinson, Ginetta owning family have rather kept the Academy afloat this year with so many of them on the grid, but now the good news is that more and more people are joining in with a look this weekend maybe to commit to next season. Performance per pound, these are still seriously good GT cars. It's a good way of starting racing. And gets into some good circuits, high-profile race meetings as well. So there, through in 10th place, Amy Tomlinson heading up towards McLean's corner. And in fairness to the Tomlinsons, they've also got quicker and quicker as the year has gone on as well. Second visit of the year to the Donington Grand Prix circuit after his spin, a rather distant last to Stephen Frassel, but he's catching back up again as best he can, improving his lap times. Nick White, absolute best sector 1. Ravi Ramyeed, absolute best sector 2, then bettered by Tom Shelley in the bright green car. So White is doing his best to bring down the gap. There further back is Tom Balfe, turning his way now into the S's, leading in the rookie class, and about to drop over the brow down to the Melbourne hairpin. So he comes out of the Melbourne hairpin, up now Tom Balfe to Goddard. Meantime, Ravi Ramyeed sets the fastest lap of the race, and the gap is up over the rest of them. 2.4 seconds now being the margin. Matt Shaw third, Mark Elman fourth. You can see how wide people have been running in this and earlier races. The circuit looking a bit dishevelled around the edges, a bit like a rallycross track as people slither off the road, bring the mud back onto the track. But Ravi Ramyeed making good his escape now, looking very convincing indeed up front. He had a bad weekend at Brands Hatch with incidents putting him into the gravel and then not doing the last race. But here he looks absolutely resolute. He's done the best lap of the race from pole position and he's storming clear up front as the cars now go into the right of McLean's corner. So Ravi Ramyeed edging clear, another absolute best in sector 1, although Nick White is still pushing hard. There he is in second place, measuring his pace against what Ravi Ramyeed is doing up the road. And now the run down towards the S's once more. But even with 11.5 minutes to go, Nick White, if there is a tipping point so that his car becomes the stronger of the two, he'd need to be taking massive chunks per sector out of Ravi Ramyeed. Now that doesn't look like it's going to happen, whereas Ed Akers here is getting closer and closer to the back of Tom Shelley for 5th place. Akers goes by. Behind him in turn it is John Carney, but Tom Shelley in the green car, Ed Akers in the orange livery. Break now for the Melbourne hairpin, turn through the corner together. Even on the wet road, there's still lots of tyre squeal as the drivers apply the power. Now you can see there, having run off the road, number 33, Matt Shaw, with lots and lots of grass clogging up the front of the car. Now, it's a pretty chilly day. Whether that's going to affect the temperatures of the car much, or that grass blocking the front of it, we'll have to wait and see. But but if Matt Shaw's car suddenly starts to lose pace, you'll be knowing why. 2.6 seconds now the lead gap. So again, Ravi Rami, the stronger of the two up front, Shaw third. Now his last lap was a 48.9. Yes, he is now being caught, Matt Shaw, by Mark Ellman behind him in fourth place. So there could well be a queue starting to form up for third place. Now let's try and work out where he picks up all the lawn from. Matt Shaw in third place, and coming out of the Melbourne hairpin, riding with him, he accelerates out of the corner, little twitch, gets sideways, takes to the grass, mows the lawn, and scoops it all in the front of the car. So that is why Matt Shaw lost a bit of time, but it's why now also the dials will be telling him that things are getting a bit hotter, and seemingly not only has he lost pace because of that grassy moment, but he's also possibly losing pace if the car's starting to overheat a touch. Comes now out of coppice, being chased by Mark Ellman. There he is in the background, and the green car of Tom Shelley, the orange colours of Ed Akers next up. The leading rookie, 8th overall, is Tom Balfe, ahead of Emma and Amy Tomlinson, 2nd and 3rd in the class. And the race has just tipped over the halfway point. As the foliage flailing Matt Shaw comes down towards the Melbourne hairpin once more. This is lap 6. Ravi Rami again doing absolute bests in sectors, securing further an advantage at the end of the lap, no doubt, as late braking brings Ed Akers onto the back now of Tom Shelley. The pair of them are not that far away from the back of Mark Ellman either, so 4th, 5th, 6th bunching up nicely. Coming then now out of Goddard's, hooking a wheel over the curve, Ed Akers, that almost spits the car out sideways, but he comes over the line, goes through, and now down into Redgate corner. Lead gap, 3.3 seconds. Another fastest lap of the race for Ravi Rami then, as the fuel load comes down, as the tyres get warmer and a bit stickier. And Nick White having to accept defeat, I think, in this race, as further back a big dive comes there on the inside. Number 55 looking to gain the place, Michael Orant. And that brings Charlotte Lowe back on the inside line into Goddard's. And Charlotte Lowe, I think, will come out just ahead. If Ravi Rami wins the race, it will push the title fight to tomorrow. So it's not ideal for Nick White, but it doesn't take him out of contention altogether. Charlotte Lowe goes through here in this seesaw battle and is ahead once more, so hanging on to 15th place as they dive into Redgate corner now. Michael Orant right there on the tail. Phil McGarty next in the queue as they hit the top of the Craner curves. Out wide goes Charlotte Lowe. And through on the inside goes Michael Orant. Good easy pass that, helped in part by the door being widened for him. 8 more minutes on the clock. And I rather fear Max Rattel has had a moment somewhere, because he's fallen behind the recovering Stephen Frassel for penultimate place. But there, the battle pack for 15th spot comes through Chance Curve, heading up the hill. But Ravi Rami looking somewhat dominant up front, as now Ed Akers makes his move for 5th place. No, thinks better of it, slots back in there behind Tom Shelley, coming down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Back on the power, Akers, and there the gap between 3rd and 4th is coming down. It was 1.9 seconds at the start of the lap, and Matt Shaw, we understand, has had another moment somewhere, so it's not purely the car losing pace because of the grass, it's because Matt Shaw's sat-nav is taking him onto the runoff area rather than keeping him on the circuit. Goes over the line then in 3rd place, but it's a rather tenuous 3rd now, only 11 tenths to the good over Mark Ellman. Shelley and Akers have got themselves together, as you can see, and run absolutely together into Redgate. Ed Akers has been chipping away, and he's pretty much in touch now, ready to try to make a move. Downhill they drop, this lap 8. Ravi Rami last time, again, fractionally faster than Nick White doing the chasing. Nick White starts the next lap to the good by going fractionally quicker within the first sector. 3rd place, Matt Shaw, but for how much longer? We are getting warnings about track limits, incidentally. One for Tom Balfe, another warning coming for Ed Akers. There, to the outside line of Tom Balfe goes Emma Tomlinson. Now this is for the lead in the rookie class. So you've got the 3 leading cars in the category running together. On the tail as well, you can see 21, which is Luke Shaw, 3rd in the class. So class honours up for grabs here as they turn into Coppice Corner. 6 minutes on the clock. So Ravi Rami up front. Nick White, Matt Shaw, 2nd and 3rd. Here, top 3 in the rookie class, 8th, 9th and 10th in the order, heading down towards the S's. Big slide there. A lot of speed carried by Tom Balfe into the S's. He got away with it, just about, but slightly delayed on exit, and that now means Emma Tomlinson can make the move on the inside line for the class lead. Balfe looks across, sees the car coming up the inside, tries to brave it out, but he's on the wetter part of the racetrack on the outside, gets sideways, does come out ahead. Tomlinson tries to defend on one side there, look from Luke Shaw, and all of that somehow keeps Tom Balfe in the lead. Shaw switches sides, gets up the inside, clatters into the side there of Emma Tomlinson. Well, he gained the place, but only briefly, because he then has a spin. Tomlinson's all over the grass as well. They sort themselves out, but Luke Shaw just could not get the car slowed down on a wet road. They've both now been caught, you can see, by Paul Livesey, number 31, as they come through into the last 5 minutes of the race. And Emma Tomlinson, up the inside, tries to go, couldn't quite do it into Redgate, but she'll be absolutely furious about that, and leads on Luke Shaw through the corner. What is it about hell hath no fury like a woman driven into it, the Goddard's left-hander? Down they come, through the Craner curves. Luke Shaw gets ahead, but that might be an answerable case afterwards. But fair play to Emma Tomlinson, absolutely determined to get the place back again. They go up towards Schwant's curve, lap 9. Matt Shaw, by the way, having kept it on the island last time, did the fastest lap of the race in 3rd position. How different it was. So this was how it all kicked off further up the road. And Tom Balfe, having got a bit sideways, back ahead. Luke Shaw dives to the inside, and by the time he's got the car anywhere near slow, Emma Tomlinson tries to turn in. There was no way Shaw was going to make the corner, and contact inevitable. Emma Tomlinson has a half spin trying to rejoin. Shaw's had a half spin as well, because he didn't get the car slowed down, but he did come out ahead just of Emma Tomlinson. And they carried on the battle all the way down to Redgate corner. 3 3/4 minutes to go now, as over the stripe goes Ravi Ramyeed. So what have we got? This lap and 1 more, maybe this lap and 2 more even, as they come now to the top of the Craners once again. And a car off at Redgate corner is Max Rattel. So straight on, by the look of it, has gone the French driver. And Max Rattel is beached in the gravel, car undamaged. Yellow flags show at Redgate. So that's one overtaking opportunity gone under the yellows. And the race has just over 3 minutes to go as the race leaders head downhill. At the moment, the fastest lap of the race at 1:46.2 to Matt Shaw. So he's looking a bit more solid in that second spot now. Heading up the hill, number 76, Tom Shelley, edging closer to the back of Mark Ellman, but I'm not convinced he's going to get close enough to have a go unless Ellman has a little moment. While sliding through the corner, and again making that run into Coppice. Marshall's doing their best to get Max Rattel's car out of the way, but I'm afraid it's so far off into the gravel. There is a 5-second penalty coming now for Ed Akers for track limit abuses. So he is running 6th on the road in the orange car there in the background, but he has picked up a track limit penalty, so he will fall potentially behind John Carney, depending on the gap between them when they come over the line. And we have got now, what, just over 2 minutes of the race to go. Race leader heading towards Goddard's. So I think we are going to get 2 more laps out of it, in fact. The one they're about to start, and then 1 more after that. Because again, Akers makes his move, and this time it works. He goes through. Ravi Ramyeed has just gone across the line then, and yes, with a 3-second cushion, he's got 2 more laps to run. Ed Akers on the road, 5th. Tom Shelley down to 6th on the road. And let's now see what he can do to fight back this time around. Nothing at Redgate with that yellow light, yellow flag situation. And so down through the Craner curves, Ed Akers in a phony 5th in a sense, because he's 5th on the road, but with the penalty applied, he's going to drop behind Tom Shelley. Out wide though goes Shelley, gets it wrong into the old hairpin, and that costs him quite a chunk of time. So Ed Akers escapes up the road. That's exactly what he needs. Stretches that margin. So he might be able to recoup some of the lost time. Now he's closing once more onto the back of Mark Ellman. Tom Shelley tries to fight back, bring down the gap again. And there'll be 1 more lap at the end of this for Ravi Ramyeed. The gap has come down a little bit. It's from 3 seconds as it was at the start of the lap to 2.7 in that last sector point, but then I suspect Ravi Ramyid's going to be able to respond. Further back in the pack there, number 11, Amy Tomlinson, ahead of Luke Shaw, who's come into contact with one of the Tomlinsons. Let's see whether a move is on the cards without contacts this time around. Together they run out of McLean's now. This is for second within the rookie class. After all the shenanigans at Goddard's, it put Amy Tomlinson into second in the class. Now coming out of the corner with Luke Shaw looking for a way through. Here's Ravi Ramyid then, who with about 17 seconds to spare, he's going to squeeze one more lap out of the race. Goes through. 14 seconds, give or take, goes by. Nick White second, the margin 3 seconds. Although Nick White now has done the fastest lap, not anymore because as the road dries, Matt Shaw does the fastest lap. Luke Shaw to the inside line here of Amy Tomlinson. This is for second in the rookie class. He goes through, but goes deep into the corner, and back up the inside goes Amy Tomlinson. So one up and one back for Luke Shaw, but he's got the inside line heading into Goddard's. Now remembering what happened previously, this time it works for him, he does get ahead. Brake go down through the gears, turn left. The Tomlinsons getting themselves together again now because you've got Emma Tomlinson closing on Amy. Leaders go onto the last lap with 3 seconds between them. Luke Shaw chasing after Tom Balfe, but he's got 4 seconds to make up as Ravi Ramyid comes into Coppice, having absolutely annihilated the opposition in this race. He has led since the lights blinked and does not put a wheel wrong. So here he comes then now down towards the S's, the former BMW racer, using his experience to good effect. Comes into the braking zone, sets the car up and now goes rattling over the curbs and heads towards the Melbourne hairpin. Nick White will have a head scratch and think about what he can do tomorrow. For him, he hopes on a drier road, but in fairness, Ravi Ramyid outpaced him in qualifying anyway because he was the man on pole. Nick White was only third in qualifying. Ravi Ramyid on the power, the bat wags a touch as he comes out of the Melbourne hairpin, but it is going to be win number 12 of the year for Ravi Ramyid as he comes now into the braking zone for the Melbourne hairpin and then into Goddard's, up towards the checkered flag. So race one of the weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy. Ravi Ramyid, the race winner. Checkered flag to Ravi Ramyid. Second over the line, Nick White. And he sets the fastest lap on the last lap, only to have it taken off him by Matt Shaw, who sets the fastest lap on the last lap. Title battle continues to tomorrow. Fourth, Mark Elman. Tom Shelley, fifth. Ed Akers, sixth, which he keeps. So one reversal of place for him. John Carney, seventh, and here is Tom Balfe, number 34 for ninth, and he's going to be the winner of the rookie class as he makes the way up the hill. And a spin in the background as around goes Emma Tomlinson, coming out of the Melbourne hairpin. Bit keen on the loud pedal, the bat wags and around it goes. So Emma Tomlinson has a spin, and there is Tom Balfe coming through to take honours within the rookie class, just ahead of Luke Shaw and the recovering Amy Tomlinson third. Emma Tomlinson is going to be fourth in class, but a bit further down the overall order after that spin. So Ravi Ramyid starting his weekend in style there with a rather dominant display, and meaning that Nick White has to have a good think about how he's able to fight back going into tomorrow's race. Still battles to resolve. Phil McGarty here battling up towards the line with Lucy Tomlinson as they go through, and a virtual dead heat between them, but Phil McGarty just ahead by 0.195 of a second, and that was all for 17th place. So at the end of the first Ginetta GT Academy race of the weekend, the last couple of cars to the line, including Stephen Fressel, who had that spin earlier on. He goes by now, takes the place. But Matt Shaw, despite his off-track excursions and all the grass in the front, still able to do the fastest lap of the race, so got away with that. And Max Rattel's car will be retrieved in a moment, and 2 more races for the cars tomorrow. Ed Akers losing 1 spot with the track limit penalty. Let's look at the results then of race 1 of the weekend. It was a win for Ravi Ramyeed ahead of Nick White, Matt Shaw third. Mark Elman 4th ahead of Tom Shelley, and then Ed Akers with John Carney 7th, Mackenzie Walker 8th, Tom Balfour class winning 9th, and Luke Shaw rounding out the top 10. Then it was Amy Tomlinson from Paul Livesey, Emma Tomlinson from Robin Grimwood, Michael Orrens ahead of Charlotte Lowe, Phil McGarty, and Lucy Tomlinson with Stephen Fressel rounding out the order. Max Rattel, the one we lost 4 laps from home. So 2 more races for the cars tomorrow. And Max Rattel's car undamaged, hoiked out of the way. Let's have a look at the best bits of the first Ginetta GT Academy race of the weekend. Dreadful getaway by Luke Shaw, who tumbled down the order, and he then had to fight his way back into contention, and fight it most definitely was. Ravi Ramyeed led into Redgate, and that was a lead he was never to lose, as Tom Shelley went round the outside of Ed Akers. Nick White was the man doing the chasing, but it wasn't long before he fell away. Matt Shaw in third place had a couple of grassy moments, and that in turn cost him a little bit of time. This was the view from Mackenzie Walker. He would end up in 8th place, busy challenging, seeing cars getting all sideways ahead. That opened the door for him, and as the cars came over the timing line, the first of the spinners was Emma Tomlinson, and then we had also Stephen Fressel having a spin. Emma Tomlinson to the inside line down into the Melbourne hairpin, looking for a way past Tom Balfour, who got a bit crossed up. Then it all started to get a bit leery into Goddard. Luke Shaw to the inside, contact with Emma Tomlinson made, and as the cars clattered together, both of them had a half spin. GT Academy cars will be back on track tomorrow, and for now Ravi Ramyeed heading into tomorrow's races looking as though a championship might be going his way. He started the weekend in perfect fashion with pole, a race win as well, and a race win by 2.2 seconds. Ravi Ramyeed takes honours in race 1 of the weekend in the Ginetta GT Academy.